In the year 330, after barbarians attacked Rome, the Roman Emperor Constantine decided to turn an empty stretch of a hilly, forested peninsula into the country's new capital city. The Roman government planned out the construction of this great city, which they called New Rome. Today, New Rome is called Istanbul, and it is one of the largest cities in the world. It would be one of the first planned capitals ever, with many more to come. Cities are usually accidental, building up slowly as collections of people settle in a strategic location and build lives for themselves and their descendants there. Welcome to That Is Interesting. I'm your host, Carter. Today, we're talking about the metropolises that were no accident. They were born in the dreams of one person, created not by society but by maps and architects. Cities that are limited only by the imagination and finances of their government. Allow me to present the planned cities of the past and those being created right now. In 1800, George Washington selected a new location for a new capital city of the United States to move it from New York City. It was named Washington after him and encompassed the towns of Georgetown, Maryland and Alexandria, Virginia. French engineer Pierre-Charles L'Enfant planned the layout of the entire city where buildings, parks, and roads would be. It took years to build, and the construction of the city was one of the most insane projects of the time. Following it, many other countries have caught on. In 1927, Australia, wanting to balance power between its two largest cities, Sydney and Melbourne, built an inland capital city, Canberra. Brazil did the same thing with the creation of Brasilia in 1960, so Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro did not become more powerful than one another. Brasilia wasn't the only capital created in 1960. In that year, Pakistan decided that they didn't want the country's economy and development to revolve around the southern part of the country and the largest city, Karachi, so they built Islamabad, a new capital in the country's far north. Nigeria wanted a capital that was not in an area inhabited by the country's main ethnic groups and was in a more centralized location. The current capital, Lagos, was crowded and enormous. It would eventually become the largest city in Africa. So, in 1991, they built Abuja, a new capital. Just 30 years later, the city is home to 6 million residents. In 1997, worried about an earthquake risk to the former capital, Almaty, Kazakhstan built a new capital, Astana, with buildings that look like a giant tent, a glass pyramid, the White House, a UFO, and a giant lollipop. Myanmar moved their capital in 2005 to a city called Naypyidaw, and the strangest thing about it is that it isn't done. The city is enormous. When completed, it will be larger than Paris or London, but it is currently filled mostly with government officials and empty houses. It encompasses over 7,000 square kilometers in area, about half the area of Tokyo, the world's largest city. But while Tokyo holds a stunning 38 million residents, Naypyidaw holds just under 1 million. It has been described as the world's largest ghost city. When Myanmar's capital city is completed, however, it will likely become a Southeast Asian powerhouse. Before we get to new capital cities that are being built, there's one more that's already completed to talk about. In 2006, Palau built a new capital city. Although calling it a city might be an exaggeration. Njurulmud, the Palauan capital, since the tiny island's government moved from the country's largest city, Koror City, is the smallest capital city on Earth by population and area. A mere 250 people call the town in the eastern part of the island their home. I don't even know where those 250 people would live, as the city seems to contain few structures besides its beautiful capitol building and some scattered picnic pavilions. Now that you've seen some planned capital cities that have been built before, here are the ones that are being constructed right now. Number 3, Ramsil, South Sudan. As the current capital of South Sudan, Juba, faces problems of overcrowding, poverty, and war, the government has decided to move itself to a new location. They are leaving behind their dusty, impoverished capital for an even stranger location. The world's newest country's newest capital will be pushed 200 miles up the Nile River from Juba into the world's largest swamp, the Sud, a massive area where the Nile spills across much of the country. This new city will be called Ramsey, and it will sit on the Nile's west bank. The future move was announced in 2011, but any progress besides planning is yet to have occurred. The city is being funded by Morocco, who wants to help strengthen South Sudan's economy. Plans for Ramsey show the downtown as being a central ring of skyscrapers around a pool of water. Number 2. Loyola, Equatorial Guinea. Deep in the rainforests of Equatorial Guinea, an enormous project is underway. A massive section of jungle has been cleared away, creating a barren patch of land so large it is clearly visible from a satellite image of the country. The current capital city is the city of Malabo, which is problematic for the fact that it is not in a centralized location. The city sits on Bioko, a large island 100 miles off the coast of Equatorial Guinea's mainland. This jungle city is well underway, with skyscrapers, bridges, and government buildings already being constructed. The government has already begun moving in, and the city should be done by 2020. Finally, number 1. In the Egyptian desert, a planned city unlike any other before is rising from the sand. It is yet to be named, but it will be enormous, home to 5 million people when construction is done, and set to grow very quickly. Set strategically in the desert between the Nile River and the Suez Canal, it will be home to replicas of the Eiffel Tower, Washington Monument, enormous skyscrapers, parks, stadiums, and amusement parks. Hundreds of hospitals as well as thousands of mosques and hotel rooms will fill the megacity. It will cost $45 billion and will be finished sometime in between 2020 to 2022. So why is Egypt creating this? The issue is that Cairo is not an ideal capital city anymore. Home to 20 million people, it is the largest city in the Middle East and the second largest in Africa. The city is also very crowded, with a population set to double in just several decades. Egypt has tried to push off this inevitable population growth by creating numerous satellite cities, but the new capital will likely be the most helpful to keep Cairo less crowded. The creators of Astana, Kazakhstan are helping Egypt with the planning of this Dubai-esque megacity. Already, tons of construction is underway to build this enormous metropolis. Our world is always changing. The cities we call home today may be ghost towns tomorrow. And the barren desert we pay no attention to could be home to millions in just a few years. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you learned something new. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover the countries, cities, people, and places of the world and beyond. These videos will leave you saying, that is interesting.